Well, happy Monday evening, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your day and it wasn't too rainy and snowy out there for you. I know here in Bozeman we had off and on rain and snow showers, but nothing too crazy. So hopefully it was like that for you as well, because big changes are be coming overnight, especially if you live in Southwest Montana, and we'll be going over all of those. All right, so as you guys can see here, this is the satellite imagery as the sun is starting to set. Right here, that's your sunset. We have a nice push of moisture coming up from the Four Corners region, really starting to focus in on that southwestern corner of the state. Again, we have some on the eastern side. We'll take a look at the radar and really see what that's bringing in for moisture. But you guys can see here's the first low that's bringing in the moisture tonight. And then off in the ocean, off of California, Oregon, you see the secondary low starting to push in as well. And what's going to happen if you follow my mouse, this is going to come in, wrap up, and kind of wrap up over the Dakotas, bringing in much needed moisture into the Dakotas and clipping parts of eastern Montana. I'm hoping it's going to bring a little more moisture into the northeastern corner, but right now the weather models aren't really showing that. But let's dive in. All right, so first let's just take a look at our snowpack after that warm weather we had last week. Everything's still looking pretty good. Upper Clark Fork could use a little bit. Actually all the mountains could always use some more. But overall for the whole state, we're still looking good, right around 100% average, and it should be going up after this next storm. All right, so here's our radar image as of right now. So right now it doesn't look like we're actually having much in the way of rain in eastern Montana, although that cloud cover really looked like it, but it is more into our western portions, into the southwestern portions of our state, and is really going to start to drag out over the plains. In the bigger picture here, you guys can see the moisture entering in off the west coast, and it's going to be really driving in across the Four Corner states and then wrapping up kind of in this trajectory it's heading in now. So this is kind of the path that it'll be heading in overnight and wrapping up and really clipping. I would say I-90 south is the focus of where this storm is going to happen, as well as into little portions of central Montana. But once you get closer into that high line, you're really not going to see much in the way of moisture coming in. All right, let's take a look at our cameras real quick and just see what they're seeing out there as well. Let's take a look in the southwestern portion. Let's look over our passes. So I-15, not bad, really not much in the way of moisture at all coming over the pass as of right now. So looks like the heaviest is just to the north. And then over Reynolds Pass, again, doesn't look like much moisture, maybe more into the mountains than over the pass, as you can see here. Really socked in the Madison range there. And the last one, let's look in the Gallatins, really not much, any snow going on up there. So all in all, pretty decent evening. It is colder than average. Than what we would expect for this time of year, but not too bad for end of March, last day of March, and happy April Fools everybody tomorrow. Last one, let's take a look up here. Yeah, so nothing too crazy in the moisture. Sorry, let's do one more. Let's look over at Lookout Pass. A little more moisture coming over the western portions of our pass, but all in all, it's fairly light as of right now, but like I was saying, this is going to start to pick back up. I wanted to show you guys a little bit what we picked up in the month. Since this is the last day of March, we gained an inch out of here in Bozeman. Normal value is 0.93 inches, so little above average, but basically dead on. And, high temperature was 47 degrees, normal is 51, so just slightly colder than average. Let's take a look at Billings. Billings for the month, you're at 1.15 inches. You're going to be a quarter inch over of normal value. So that's really good. It's going to bring some nice, growth come May and June. So we'll keep building in as much moisture as we can. Temperature today, high of 44 at the Billings Airport. Normal value is 53. So a little bit cooler than average for Billings. You're almost 10 degrees colder than average. So we should be in the mid 50s. And I think you guys will see after this next storm system coming up, we'll have some warmer temperatures. All right, so this is kind of what we've seen the last 72 hours. You can kind of see the bullseye of where we've gotten rain. Not for a ton of Montana, but I would say that south central, this very southeastern portions of the state was kind of where it focused in on. But we'll see all these holes start to fill in with the next maps. All right, here we go. So here's the European model. and this is live for 7 p.m. This is just about active. And as you guys can see here, as we get through Tuesday into Wednesday, we got some really good rain coming into the central portions and southwestern portions of our state. And it, like I said, really it's the focus is this is, say, I-90. I-90 south is where I would expect to see most of your moisture creeping up into a little bit of south central Montana. But the high line's kind of like your hardcore divider. So really, once you get above, say this is Great Falls, Loma, if you get up above there, we're not really seeing much of the way of precipitation for Montana, except up in our mountains just east of Kalispell in that glacier area. Let's take it out just a little bit farther. Let's park it out 1 week. And as you can see, we're not really seeing much in the way of rain here in our portion of the world, but the Mississippi Delta is really going to start to get hammered. And, this is an area that's been getting hammered, it seems like more and more recently. So they're going to be looking to dry out after this, especially, and I would be watching for some flooding. All right, let's look at the snow. So this is what we should be expecting for snow throughout this portion of the Montana. This is the GFS model. The GFS model is not my favorite, but it's hard to find the European model with good snow accumulated or just a mapping of what should be happening with the European model. So the GFS model, it's good on this close range stuff. It's once it gets out here past, this weekend or even just, I would say Friday, it's hard to say for sure, but it's bringing in that good snow that we were talking about really down the spine of the Rockies. And this has the bullseye over, I would say, like this is Helena, over the big belts, little belts. But, from what I've been gathering from different, National Weather Service and weather models, the real focus is going to be along, that Wyoming-Montana border. This is where I would expect more heavy snow than necessarily up here. So we'll look at this, say, Wednesday and come back and see if I was right. But I think this pink and blues is going to be more closer down to the border down in this area. And you guys can see here what I'm talking about. When we get out a little bit further, it kind of just goes haywire and puts in all this crazy stuff. I don't think on Monday the 7th in Iowa, southern Iowa, northern Missouri, that they're going to be getting 15 inches of snow. And if you go even crazier farther out, it's all of a sudden does some real wild things in April. Probably doesn't even need to show you guys this, but I'm just wanted to show you the GFS model as you get farther out just kind of goes crazy and throws out some stuff. So don't look at this as actually happening. Let's look back just over the weekend. Let's park it out Friday. This is more realistically what we should be expecting. Still some higher amounts than what I would imagine. This is probably in the mountains, the pinks, that's going to equate to 12 to 15 inches of snow. I could see that in the mountains, but not down in the valleys, not in Great Falls, Helena's. You're really looking at 3 to 5 inches versus, a foot or so. All right, long range. So right now, this is what we have going on. You can see the trough starting to dig into the northwest, and it's going to start to come out here into Montana. And right here, this is the heart of the low, and this is kind of the trajectory that it's going to kind of come up and curl out. There it goes. And it's actually going to leave a lingering low here in California, but that one shouldn't affect us too much. Just bringing in colder temperatures than we're used to. And then by Friday and Saturday, though, look at this ridge of high pressure that's building back in. We're going to have some really warm temperatures over next weekend and into next week. We'll go over what the Climate Prediction Center is expecting, but, this is going to set the stage for some really warm temperatures, and the models really aren't hinting away at this. So that first part of April, I would expect what we saw like mid last week. Here in Bozeman, we were 60 degrees, 65 degrees. I wouldn't be afraid to say that we start touching that again next week. Out in the plains, back into the 70s. So some really warm, early warmth coming in, and I'll take it, especially as we're starting to get closer to that April 15th time frame of turkey opener. You want to see some warmth building in and have those turkeys gobbling, so that is good to see. All right, let's see what the Climate Prediction Center says. So here's our 6 to 10 day outlook. So it does show that warmer temperatures really starting to build in. So this would be for that same time frame. We're talking Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Drier than normal too. So it's the ridge. Because of the ridge, we're not going to be building in moisture. So warmth and no moisture coming in. The 8 to 14 days. So this is going to bring us all the way out through the 14th of April. Again, warmer temperatures really anchored over the Four Corner States all the way up into Montana, following the spine of the Rockies. So warm temperatures in April, and again below average precipitation. So this storm that's going to be coming in tonight into tomorrow, we really need to make sure we can hold on to that snowpack and stick around, because that's going to play a key role into our summer. And 3 to 4 week outlook, it's kind of painting that same picture, with warmer temperatures out on the west coast, drier on the west. And what that means, if we're not getting storms on the west coast, we're really not going to be able to be building in storms into Montana. So I would expect this to kind of be warmer than average, a whole month of April at this point, or at least the first week to 2.5 weeks of April be warmer than average. So I'll leave you guys with that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop a comment below. Hit that like button if you like what we're doing, and I'll be sure to give you guys an update, most likely on Wednesday, on what this storm actually brought in and what to expect for this weekend. Thanks.